Put that thing down, catch our breath, split up the winnings. So this will...
I guess Han Solo isn't the only one who shoots first. The Rebel heist on Aldhani is past the point of no return, and if you were waiting for some action to pop off on Andor, well, it finally happened and it was worth the wait. Directed by Susanna White, Episode 6, The Eye, takes us to a breaking, or rather exploding point of the last 2 episodes worth of built-up tension, and we're gonna break all of that down, plus all of the Easter eggs we could fit into a stolen Imperial freighter. But before we get to that, I've got to warn you, big-time spoilers on the way, so if you're not caught up on Andor or you don't want to hear us speculate about it, now would be the time to haul ass straight into a big rainbow meteor shower that only happens once every 3 years. Okay, now that we're past the spoiler warning, let's get right to it. The heist is a go on Aldhani. The Rebel crew has to commit now, whether they're ready or not. Some of the crew, understandably, has some nerves about the whole thing.
Struggling to understand why my faith doesn't calm me. I believe in something. Why am I so unsettled? I mean, you have nothing. You sleep like a stone.
Meanwhile, we find an almost comically racist, pompous Imperial leader in Commandant J-Holt Behaz, who is planning further marginalization of the Dani people as everybody prepares for the Eye, a celestial spectacle that Aldhani is well known for. The team successfully infiltrates the Imperial garrison with Vel and Cinta sneaking around on the margins until they all convene and force Behaz to take them into the vault. There, they make the imps help them load all the credits onto their getaway ship, and they make a real point for digital currency in this messy, heavy loadout, but I digress. One Imperial technician was paying close attention and caught wind of trouble on the one radio frequency that the crew didn't shut down because they needed to unlock the credits, and he scrambled all the TIE fighters in the area to come hassle our friends. Meanwhile, the Dani are outside spreading out picnic blankets so that they can watch this wonderful celestial event and probably make out. Gorn tries to shoo away a nosy corporal, but it ultimately doesn't work when Behaz passes out or dies suddenly or something, but whatever, he sucked anyway. A shootout ensues and the crew has to take the money and run. Literally, Taramyn doesn't make it and Cinta is still behind undercover as they take off, with Nemik being badly crushed by a pallet of heavy credits and Vel and Skeen trying to help him. Simultaneously, Cassian, who's flying this tub, needs a flight path as the Eye event begins. It's gorgeous, and really it looks like the best and biggest fireworks display you've ever seen, but it also looks like something you wouldn't want to fly any kind of vehicle through, especially with 3 TIE fighters in hot pursuit. Nemik, weakened and dying, consults his handy vintage Polaroid camera and offers some astute navigation suggestions. Thanks, Nemik. Cassian does just that, and it miraculously gets them safely out of the Eye, fragging the remaining TIEs in the process. Nemik isn't doing so hot, and on Skeen's insistence, they take him to a doctor. Skeen corners Cassian outside and suggests that they split the 80 million lifted credits and bounce, but our boy shoots first. Turns out that Skeen's whole tragic backstory was Bantha Poodoo, and he didn't actually think that Nemik would pull through. He was just looking for a reason to make a pit stop and try to convince Cassian to sell out. But after having put up with Skeen's whole "we don't trust you" act for as long as he did, Cassian has zero patience for any more of his bullshit. Maybe sweet little Nemik's optimism got to Cassian just a little bit, but unfortunately he dies on the operating table. Called it! Cassian reveals what happened to Vel, but he still wants to split with only the amount of money that he was promised up front, turning the freighter and Luthen's crystal over to her. She makes Cassian take Nemik's manifesto with him, saying that Nemik really wanted him to have it, so Cassian takes it, leaves, and it's completely unclear where he's gonna go next. Back on Coruscant, the Imperials are freaked out about what happened. Mon Mothma proposes peace to a mostly empty Senate, and Luthen is thrilled the Rebel heist was a success, minus our fallen comrades Taramyn, Nemik, Skeen, and probably Gorn and Behaz too, but Behaz deserved it. So hey, mission accomplished, I guess. Maybe we shouldn't be too surprised to see Cassian solve a problem with the business end of a blaster, seeing that he does that kind of all the time, but just like when he murdered those corporate security goons on Morlana 1, or in the future when he kills his planet killer informant in Rogue One, it's self-preservation and mission preservation in action. When Skeen casually announced that he was just going to take a walk with 40 million credits, half of the take in this crazy heist, he instantly identified himself as a liability. It's like in Goodfellas when Jimmy Conway has to whack the members of their heist crew to cover their tracks. This Rebel heist crew has to do the same thing. If Skeen actually followed through with his plan, he would have gotten caught and led the Empire right to everybody else, so he had to go. Han Solo infamously shot first to survive, both with Tobias Beckett and with Greedo, the most incompetent bounty hunter of all time. Cassian just kind of did the same thing.
Don't get comfortable. This is not a meeting.
As you probably could have anticipated, this heist immediately made ripples throughout the Empire, and Imperial forces are snapping to attention. This is probably happening galaxy-wide, but this episode we only really get one scene illustrating it at Imperial Security Headquarters on Coruscant. ISB agent Dedra Meero is hustling through the halls to a big meeting where Major Partagaz is telling everyone to cancel their PTO requests and weekend plans and tell their families that they're working late because all resources are about to be directed toward the Aldhani situation.
I want every star sector and planetary emergency retaliation plan in the building ready for presentation by midnight.
Now, we're not too sure what this means exactly, but the word retaliation definitely stands out. This probably means bad things for the people living on Aldhani and also in the surrounding systems. Keep in mind, this is the Empire. Their whole thing is making the whole galaxy afraid of them. If they had, say, a moon-sized space station capable of destroying an entire planet, it would probably be the first in the whole retaliation plan list, but that secret project that Galen Erso and director Krennic are working on is still a little ways away from being fully operational. But that doesn't mean the Empire can't still do a whole lot of damage. Keep in mind it's during this very same time period that Mandalore's Night of a Thousand Tears takes place, rendering the world's capital city of Sundari almost completely uninhabitable, and the Empire did all of that without a Death Star. And this is where we expect next week's episode to pick up, with Partagaz, Meero, and the rest of the ISB getting ready to direct the full might of the Imperial military at anybody who's crazy enough to steal 80 million credits from them. Don't forget that Meero has been secretly investigating a string of thefts that she thinks could be connected to a secret alliance of rebel scum, and this latest heist definitely supports that theory. There's a good chance that when she presents her findings to Partagaz, she's going to be mocked by her peers, but Partagaz is going to realize that she's right, and then he's probably going to take credit for her work, because that's really how you get promoted in the Empire. Look, it's all fun and games until Meero eventually quiet quits the Empire and becomes rebel scum herself. At least, that's our theory. And now, of course, it's time for the Easter eggs, which are tougher to spot when there's a death-defying mission going on, but here's what we got. Luthen makes a passing reference to the planet of Deveron, which is the homeworld of the devilish horn-headed race of aliens that have shown up here and there in animated form. The very first Devish to grace the screen was the unfortunately named Cantina alien Labria, better known by his much cooler non-canon name Kardusai Malak, the Butcher of Montelian Surat. You can read about him in Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina. It's not canon, but it's f***ing awesome. Nemik shouts climb at Cassian after he gets a shot in the arm. This is among Nemik's last words, and notably, it's somebody else's too.
Climb! Climb!
That doomed mission is still years away in the canon, but K2SO having the very same last word as he sacrifices himself for Cassian and Jyn Erso, you have to wonder if maybe Cassian thought back to Nemik during that very moment. The four-armed doctor who works on Nemik is named Dr. Quadpaw. Four-arms? Quadpaw? Anybody? Sorry to get heavy-handed there. When Mon Mothma addresses the Senate that is absolutely not paying any attention to her, we see that the room has gotten some new pods since Revenge of the Sith, when Yoda and Palpatine absolutely wrecked the place. And also, it's a shadow of its former glory, and you have to start to wonder if maybe political discourse among elected officials just doesn't really have much of a place under, fascism. Of Mon Mothma, she's talking about tensions on Gorman, not that anyone was listening, but that'll eventually become a pivotal plot point in history, the Gorman Massacre. This event, which hasn't happened yet in the canon, will see Imperial troops killing innocent civilians, and it's going to be orchestrated by Tarkin, and most importantly, Mon Mothma's incensed response to it when she blames Palpatine will get her branded a traitor, and she'll fully commit to the rebellion at that point. That happens 2 years before the Battle of Yavin, so that could very well be an Andor Season 2 thing. Anyway, what did you think of this episode of Andor? Did the action finally pay off on that slow burn? And how is the Empire going to respond after 80 million credits just up and disappeared? Let us know what you think in the comments. Thank you for watching. I'm Max Scoville. For more Star Wars, here is why that Aldhani mission was so important in the first place. And as always, don't forget to follow and subscribe to IGN, wherever you like to watch. May the Force be with you. We'll see you next week.